Hello everyone, Namaste, Pranam. First of all, I'm really happy to be recording my videos again. I know I have been missing for a very long time. So, coming directly to point, today's video is about the recent spate of vandalism and hatred in JNU campus against Brahmins and Banyas. And since I consider myself to be both in one capacity or the other, I think it was only fair that I restart my video channel with this particular video. So there are several things about this particular incident which has just cropped up in the last 24 hours, which I think mainstream media and even people in general are not really catching, and that's the reason why I decided to make this video. So the first thing is that this is an unprovoked hatred. There is absolutely no record or incident or anything recorded in the JNU campus in the last even few months to call for this kind of a hatred. So, you cannot just say that Brahmins go back and Brahmins leave this country and Brahmins leave the campus and Brahmins and Banyas, we are coming for you. There will be blood. So, these kind of slogans are very, very vengeful. It's not just that they're hating on a community or they're just criticizing a community. They're directly threatening a community and telling them in big, bold, bloody letters, there will be blood. We are coming for you. So, it's not just an act of vandalism. That's the first thing I want to say because, mainstream media and even the JNU authorities are saying that we condemn this act of vandalism. It's not just an act of vandalism. It's an evidence of pure, complete hatred and vengefulness and violence expressed towards a very specific community. They mentioned Brahmins and Banyas in that video. So they're very clear who they're coming for, and they've said that we are coming for you. So it's a direct threat. So this kind of anger and hatred, that too unprovoked, is absolutely abnormal. First of all, somebody who is, rotting in this kind of hatred would have to be really psychotic to have this level of hatred towards a specific community. And secondly, for no reason, for no good reason. Now, this kind of a threat should be taken seriously. This is not being taken as seriously as it should because till now we have not even seen the names of the people who have performed this act of vandalism. We have not even seen any investigation being done by any authority. Apart from a few condemnation statements, there is literally no action being taken against this kind of hatred, which is directly threatening the lives of people, the lives of innocent people in the JNU campus. Because you see, this is not just saying, oh, we hate you, oh, you are, ugly. It's not that kind of hatred. It's the kind of hatred where they're saying there will be blood. And this kind of a threat should be taken very, very seriously. Secondly, this is in no way different from the kind of hatred we saw a few years earlier in JNU in the form of, the Tukre Tukre gang and, then later on when the whole Asifa case happened for no rhyme or reason, the whole of JNU was just frothing with hatred for Hindus. So this is in that same league. And this just goes to show that hatred is continuing to fester in JNU. That hatred has in no way been curtailed or stopped or disappeared. That hatred for Hindus and especially Brahmins and Banyas who are supposedly Savarn or something is continuing. And it is continuing unchecked because nobody is checking it. Nothing has been done to really rein in on this kind of hatred because when these kind of incidents happen, people just leave it to be like some sort of a Twitter thread, and neither the police nor the institutional authorities take any serious action against the people. So how is it possible that an institution of national importance like JNU does not have the power to find out who the people are behind this act and punish them? I mean, if people are so interested in this form of activism, then these people should be given the freedom to pursue their activism full time. Like, let's relieve them from their educational careers. Like, why don't you go and do this full time without the JNU freedom and credentials and, stipend? So these people should be suspended from JNU because unless you set an example of this sort, this kind of hatred will continue to threaten people in JNU. And it sends a message, it sends a very strong message that JNU is owned by these thugs, because that's what they are at the end of the day. That JNU is owned by these thugs who hate Brahmins, who hate Banyas, and if you are a Brahmin in Banya, you are not welcome here. That's the message they are saying. So, we talk so much about, Hindu phobia. This is not just Hindu phobia, this is Hindumesia, because this is threatening the very lives of people in JNU. And it is in many ways much, much worse than what we see in US universities a lot of times. Because in US universities also, they say these things, but here it is literally the writing on the wall. And we should take the threats in US academia seriously, but Indian academia is right here, it's right next door. We have to first check Indian academia, which is going to completely go down the drain if this kind of an atmosphere is allowed to fester in this university. And I think the last thing I want to say here is that, this kind of a caste issue, like making everything about caste, just shows exactly how ill-informed people in India are, even about the rights of people who are supposedly called scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. I don't believe in that differentiation myself, but the government does. So just for everybody's record, there are like 3 national commissions just for scheduled caste and tribes and other backward classes. And there is an entire ministry of minorities for minorities. And even before, so all of these commissions came into effect from 93 to 2004. I think Ministry of Minorities came into existence in 2006. So there's one National Commission for Scheduled Caste, another National Commission for Scheduled Tribes, and there is a National Commission for Backward Classes, and there is a Ministry of Minority Affairs. So these national commissions came into effect from 93 to 2004, and the ministry came into effect in 2006. So, we literally have institutional privileges for these castes, SC, STs, and OBCs and minorities, whereas there is no such institutional privilege for Banyas or Brahmins. And even before these commissions came into effect, nowhere in the law or in the institutional level was any kind of differentiation between caste, an obstacle. There was no institutional differentiation between different castes. I don't know if what I'm saying is very clear, but there was no law which differentiated between an SC/ST person and a so-called upper caste person. There was no policy in any national universities which differentiated between SC/STs and upper caste people. First of all, I myself don't believe in upper caste and lower caste. And when I say I don't believe in, I don't mean about sentimentally. It's because I've spoken a lot on this issue. Caste is a construct. Varna is a real Hindu values system. Caste is a societal construct dumped on us by Western invaders and colonizers. So, which is why I don't believe in the caste system. But even if you just talk about it because it exists in the society, even that was not institutionalized until reservations came into effect. And reservations was supposedly done to correct some sort of a historic wrong, but that historic wrong has already been corrected long ago. And as you can see now, these kind of reservations and these kind of differentiations are actually causing more harm than good, because they continue that differentiation. The society has evolved to a point where that differentiation is no longer there in the minds of people. But these laws, these reservations, these commissions, they may be doing something to protect the interests of a very small group of people. But they do much more harm in the sense that, they give power to this kind of hatred, because they never do anything about hatred against Banyas and Brahmins and other communities. So, like Hindus have no special clauses, no special laws, no special policies to protect their interests, which is, for a moment, even if we consider that to be fine, then equality says that the same should be true for all other communities as well. But that's not true. So, if I just take an example, if I just compare India with a country which is considered to be very, very progressive, very, very, forward thinking and liberal. I'm obviously talking about the United States. So in United States, there was an entire civil rights movement in the 60s and 70s, because that differentiation between different communities, or in that case it was more to do with racial discrimination, was very much institutionalized. It was a part of the law, and there was a lot of resistance to the civil rights movement. So, in a country which was considered to be so liberal and the land of the free and the land of freedom itself, in a country like US, discrimination was institutionalized, and people had to fight and had to struggle even to get voting rights. Blacks got voting rights only in, I think, 65 or 66 or something, not even, maybe 65, 1965 or 66, somewhere around that time. Whereas in India, voting rights have never been a question of your caste or your religion or any other kind of a parameter of differentiation. So this is a very important clause which I think everybody needs to understand, because when we talk about liberalism, we talk about inequality, we talk about rights and all that stuff. SCs, minorities, backward classes, they have always had the same rights as Hindus since the beginning, which is why India has always been inclusive. And when people talk about making India inclusive, it's just ridiculous. We may not have used the words inclusivity and equality and all that, because English is not a first language. But we have always had those values, and those values were enshrined in the constitution. And when India became a republic, when we had our laws implemented, those values have always been in place since India regained freedom. Which is why SC/STs didn't have to struggle for getting a law for them, because there was no discrimination at the legal level in the first place. So when we talk about this kind of unprovoked hatred towards Brahmins, towards Banyas, it's just ridiculous, and it's a sign of indoctrination. Sorry about that. It's a sign of indoctrination, and it's a sign that somewhere our educational institutions have gone wrong, or the ones which are allowing this to continue. So there are many educational institutions where you cannot indulge in these kind of acts, and that's good. But institutions like JNU, where these kind of acts are allowed, have gone wrong. And I think the government should take this very seriously, because we are going to lay this at the government's door if they don't do anything. So that's all I wanted to say today. Thank you.